And welcome back to Subculture on CentralCoastRadio.com. We're about to play a song in a moment that we know that you are going to absolutely love. It's from an Adelaide-based rock band called Loaded Billy, and the track is called Boys Run Wild, and we just know that you're going to love this one. So we thought we would actually get one of the members of Loaded Billy on the phone to talk a little bit about this new song today. Welcome to the program, Will.
Yeah, g'day. How are you?
I'm going really, really well. Mate, this track, I've been listening to it all morning and I've absolutely fallen in love with it. I know our listeners are as well, so I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about Boys Run Wild.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoy it. Hope everybody else does as well. I'm the drummer and I write a fair bit in the band as well, but I collaborate a lot. But basically I wrote the lyric. And it actually came from, I used to have sort of a bit of a side thing going where I worked in King's Cross for a while when I was based in Sydney, and just around the young men I used to deal with over there and see. Although the lyric I find is quite relevant today, it was, and then it was recorded in, I've got a home studio as well, and my son is engineered the track and did a lot of the mixing on it, and then I sort of did a bit of the 1% stuff. So it's a bit of a family effort and a band effort, you know. So, what else can I tell you? What do you need to know?
Well, I was going to say, I think that's one of the reasons why this track actually related to me so much, because I used to work with long-term unemployed young people, and there was something about this track that really, really spoke to me. Did you find it an easy track to write, or was it a difficult track to write?
No, I did find it easy. When I write, once I start, and I've got an idea in my head what I want to write about, I actually find it quite okay and easy to do. It's interesting you say that, because the track's been out just over a week, and then there's the video, which is a really excellent video on YouTube, which is done by a guy called Simon Killer, and it was filmed in an old Adelaide slaughterhouse, an old meatworks, which really sort of captures the song as well, and there's a few fly-ins of sort of disenfranchised youth. And we've had a lot of comment, actually, about that, sort of people relating to the lyric and finding it very relevant to what's going on today, whether it's here in Australia or worldwide, you know. But, I mean, it wasn't really intentional. It was just something that I was passionate about and I wrote about.
Definitely. So tell us a little bit about Loaded Billy. This might be the first time a lot of people have heard music from you. So tell us a little bit about the band. How long have you all been together, and how did you get together in the first place?
Yeah, we're a bit of a Blues Brothers story. I was based in Sydney for 20 years, had a band over there, or a couple of bands, a couple of projects. I was also doing audio engineering in Sydney. And I moved back to Adelaide because my father was unwell and sort of came back here. There was no family here, so I came back to look after him. And a very good friend of mine, guitar player who I collaborated with when I was really young, had moved back to Adelaide from Canada, and he was a bit like, oh, let's put the band back together, you know, and sort of kept nagging me. And so it sort of started there, and it was a bit of a long journey because the band's been together on and off actually for basically about 10 years, because we had quite a few periods where the band wasn't working, line-up changes, a couple of side projects, and then just before the pandemic we decided to get serious and record all the songs that we'd written. A lot of the songs were written by a guy called Trevor Moyle, who was the guitarist, but again there's a lot of collaboration on the album, which sort of comes through. So yeah, you know, we've been around a while, but this is sort of the first big effort to put something out there and let other people hear what we're doing.
Definitely. And you've been likened to Judas Priest, Iron Maiden and Def Leppard. Are they the bands that you grew up listening to?
Well, yes. It's sort of that. The lights have come from. We've always been very much a live band. You know, we sort of really dig playing live, and we've always had a sort of a really sort of energetic lifestyle. A lot of the comment has come from fans over the years and other people where they say they hear those elements within our songs. We've got a full album, an 11-track album that'll be coming out in September, actually, so it'll give people a bit of an idea. But definitely, it's funny that you grow up with that music, and then when people say something like that, you go, oh, actually, I can sort of see that, or then you play a track that you haven't played for a while, or Judas Priest or Budgie or someone like that, and you go, well, you can see how it does influence you, you know. I think that, you know, when you're young, that stuff's definitely in your head, isn't it, you know?
Yeah. You mentioned the album that's coming out in September as well. It's called Legend. Tell us a little bit about that album. Is Boys Run Wild a good example of what we can hear on that album?
It is, although we don't. There's 11 tracks on the album. There's actually a cover on the album by Budgie, who are a really big influence to us, and we have always played a bit of Budgie in our live set because we grew up on it and we just love playing it for fun. So we decided to do Turn to Stone, which was a tribute to Bert Shelley because he passed away last year. The album's interesting. Most of the tracks are long, so we're also, I think a lot of people that have had pre-listens to it sort of describe it as going back to that era of the 70s, probably more so, when you get that album experience. So it's like a playlist within itself. There is another single coming out on the 21st of July, a song called Scarlet, which will, again, give people a bit of an idea of what we do. And then I think when people hear the album, they'll be sort of surprised. So most of the lyrics within the album a lot of them are written by me and another singer that we had in the band earlier in the days, tend to talk about, you know, people in the world, really. So we don't really do any lovey-doos or anything like that. So, boom, you know.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear that album. That's Legend for all of our listeners out there. It's coming out in September. Are you guys hoping to get out and do some shows around that time as well?
Absolutely. We go back on the road actually on the 21st of July, which is the release of the second single. We'll be doing some local shows here. I think we finish up at the Gov in Adelaide. And we are now talking to some people in Melbourne about coming over and doing some showcase gigs over there.
That would be absolutely fantastic. Well, Will, we're going to play Boys Run Wild on our show right now. What would you like to say to our listeners out there before they take a listen to this track?
Well, I hope everybody enjoys the song. I hope people do relate to it. And I hope everybody has a rocking day, you know. So, and I thank you very much for the support, mate. It's really appreciated.
No problem at all, mate. We're only too happy to have you back on the show anytime at all. Will, thank you so much for coming on the show. And for all of our listeners out there, this is Loaded Billy with Boys Run Wild.